When you first get into photography, it's easy to get distracted with having the latest and the greatest, and that's how you will improve as a photographer. And it's not just in photography. I had the same when I was a drummer as well. Wanted the best snare drum, I wanted the best microphones. But you can spend all the money you want. If you don't have the fundamentals and the basics, you're not going to be much further than where you started. So I'm going to kickstart a series of teaching the basics of photography with the most important one of all. It's the one you will spend so long at crafting and getting better at, and that is composition. I'm not here to lecture you about how you spend your money. You can go with digital, you can go film, or you can go as I've done with a bit of a hybrid, whatever you like. But you really do need to learn the fundamentals. And composition is one of them ones you're going to battle with constantly. Every shoot, every idea is going to be determined on your composition. You can get the best lighting conditions in landscape photography. You can learn how to expose. But one of the main factors for defining your style and yourself from everyone else is how you compose your image. With that being said, let's get to it and let's keep it simple. There are guidelines out there and we're going to go through them, explain them, how each of them and how you can work them into your photography. The first one is rule of thirds. You've probably heard of this, and the fact that it says a rule doesn't mean you can't break it. You can break it all you want, and I'll show you how to break the rule of thirds with another guideline later in the video. Now, in this scenario here, yes, the cameras are kind of in the 1/3 position and the horizon is pretty much there. It doesn't have to be exactly there, but you get the point. I'm directly in the middle because I'm presenting straight to you, so there's no need to put me left or right. On other situations, you will need to decide that, and most likely that is how you're going to work with the rule of thirds. So how does it work? The most important part of your photo intersects either one of the 1/3 lines or intersects where two of the lines collide. So when the vertical and the horizon intersect, that's where you put your most important subject. So if it's a person, you would put them either on the left or the right, round about their eye or in the middle of their face. It's kind of a good spot there. If you're doing landscape photography, a great way to remember this is if the sky is class, show less grass, and if the sky is crap, well, just there's no rhyme for the other one, but the first one's good. When you're composing for landscape photography, try not to put the horizon in the center of the photo. Try to have it at the top 1/3 or the lower 1/3. The next one is center alignment. So this is for like talking heads like this here doing tutorials and teaching where I'm just directly at you. I could have had the camera at an angle, then I would have used rule of thirds, but because it's straight on and I've nothing else there, I'm going to put myself right in the middle. Most important. You will find that in quite a lot of talking heads, especially for vertical video and that, you will probably just end up going with the center alignment. It's the most natural to think of, but it can limit you, that if you do everything in the center, it can be a little bit boring. So it is the easiest one to kind of learn. Wes Anderson is the most obvious to give an example of his movies. He is just all about the symmetry and center aligning in a lot of his stuff. The next thing I want to talk about is headroom, right? So it's one thing to learn about putting me in the middle or putting me to the side, but where do we put my face? Should we go along the 1/3 lines? Just completely... Do I just sit here relaxed? Like I am relaxed. I could sit here all day like this, and I've got the 1/3 line kind of in and around by my eyes. But what you'll notice now is there's an obscene gap on top of my head. This is called headroom, and you don't necessarily need a lot. And one thing I do see in my portrait workshops when I'm teaching headshots is the amount of headroom people leave because they're afraid of filling the frame. Do not be afraid to fill that frame. You do not have to have the 1/3 line go across my eyes. It's going across my mouth right now. But that doesn't matter because the importance is the fact that I don't want a massive gap above my head. I don't even mind clipping my head. Maybe that's a bit too much, but there is kind of comfortable. I can sit nice and straight. You can see all the cameras. There is a compromise being made here, but it's not that obvious and it's not overly important either. Leading lines. These bring your viewer into the scene. It literally does as it says. It leads into where your viewer is. The road meandering into a scene, or the river leading into Carlingford Lock at Flagstaff Viewpoint. That's one of the best examples of leading lines. S-Bends is another great one for landscape photography. That whole location does all the work for you. If you are standing on a footpath or you're standing at a corner of a building, try and get the corner that it actually intersects the corner of your photo. That'll work much better for your composition as well. The next next guideline we've previously mentioned with the center alignment, and that is symmetry. So what you're looking for are repeating patterns, and that can be anything at all. Frame within a frame. So 2 trees and a scene behind it. I have a great one here with park benches, and in the frame there's a bit of symmetry going on there. More obvious ones are within architecture. For me, symmetry is the quest for patterns. I'm looking for patterns, I'm going to put them in. So it doesn't have to be square, it doesn't have to be center aligned, it can be whatever you want it to be. So that's the other thing as well. Don't limit yourself that symmetry has to be square on every single time. It can be whatever you want to be. You just make it obvious for the viewer to recognize. Reflections is one of those guidelines that breaks the rules of another one. So when you're composing for reflections in the water, you're going to be ignoring the rule of thirds for a lot of instances. There are going to be instances where it will work, and that's going to be fantastic. But in other ones, don't worry about it at all. What you're more concerned about is the butterfly effect. So you know the ink blob, you paint one side of the page, you fold it and you open it up again, and it's mirrored from both sides. That's what you're trying to replicate when you're playing around with reflections. You've got an image, they should be absolutely the same. Bonus tip for landscape photographers: if you're going to, like, say, the River Liffey in Dublin and you want to get those crystal clear reflections, aim for half an hour after the high tide. So the tide will come in, and as it's turning, it's like when you throw a ball up in the air. At one stage it will actually suspend with no movement before it falls. You want to catch the tide then. So whenever it's going out or coming in, there is a time where it will be stopped, and if there's no wind or breeze, you will get a glass-like reflection. They're a bit tough to get in Ireland, so good luck with that. This is a goodie. This is probably one of the best ones and less utilized by a lot of photographers, and this has been around for hundreds of years. The likes of Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, of the Renaissance era. If you've ever heard of the Fibonacci spiral, this is it. Now, this is underutilized by so many photographers, but it is greatly utilized by graphic designers. Actually, intuitively, graphic designers will end up composing a lot of their compositions by using the golden ratio, for the simple fact that it pushes your subject a little bit further over to one side of the image to give you more space for text. Similar to the 1/3 rule, whatever is the most important is at the intersection of the cross. With the golden ratio, it's actually where the spiral finishes. So it starts from the bottom all the way around, and wherever that finishes is the most important part of your image. So you need to put your subject there. How do you get there? How do you find that out? So what we said about the rule of thirds, you intersect your subject by the 1/3 line. Now we change it for the golden ratio. Instead of intersecting them, splitting them in half with this line, we put them into the box. So we find the 1/3 box, either left or right, and we put them into the box. Now, unfortunately, there's no real good guidelines on a camera setup to properly show this. There are apparent ones where the lines come in closer, but I don't think they properly actually show you where you need to place your subject, because you'll end up putting them closer to the middle of the image, where they actually need to stay on the side. Stick to the rule of thirds and then just push your subject out just that little bit further. When you bring it into Photoshop or Lightroom, bring in your guidelines and you will then see the spiral, and it should line up. Usually this works a treat, and more times than not, especially with my commercial photography, I tend to favor the golden ratio. And even more so now that I've switched to this hybrid with the GFX, where I'm shooting 100 megapixels, I shoot a lot of my imagery now to favor cropping for the client, whether they want to crop for vertical or for horizontal, and the golden ratio is exactly what I need to compose properly for this added amount of use of a single image. I hope this has all helped. I hope you've gotten something from this. If you did, give the video a like, maybe subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. Ring the bell to get notified every time I post up a new video. Find me on all the social medias under Mark Duffy Photography, and until the next time, later gators.